The jury has spoken and ruled against Amber Heard. Despite her failed efforts to sway their decision, things are getting worse for Amber. Amber Heard was subjected to so many instances of cross-examination and redirect examination throughout the trial. She testified for the first time shortly after Johnny Depp. Depp maintained an attitude that was neither extremely happy nor excessively sad throughout his life. He responded directly to the questions and departed after the counsel for both parties had concluded their arguments. When Amber took the stand, she responded solemnly to the questions. Her voice would sound as if she were crying. She would wipe her eyes and nose repeatedly despite the absence of tears, and she would pause in the middle of a response to regain her composure. The performer was aiming to portray a victim who was in shock and had difficulties recalling the events. Despite the fact that no one would notice a difference in her demeanor, the difference between Johnny Depp's and Amber's speech patterns is quite stunning, and her behavior spawned a multitude of online parodies. Everyone has heard the famous "my dog stepped on a bee" joke. All of this information was divulged in an effort to sway the jury after the audience observed that she had not shed any tears. In addition, she was seen crying when posing for a portrait in court. In a brief clip from the trial, the actor can be seen wiping her nose with a handkerchief and holding it in her face for 2 to 3 seconds while a flashing light occurs. As soon as the lighting changes, she returns to her normal state. Because she is staring in their way, it's clear that she was waiting for the photographers to take photos. People also know that she wiped her nose more frequently than her eyes throughout this episode, leading some to suspect that she was under the effects of cocaine. Given that the actress had acknowledged using drugs, the jury must have recognized her regular usage of artificial tears. The second card reads, "I'm a citizen of the United States." The trial was based on the accusation that Amber Heard defamed Johnny Depp by publishing an opinion piece in 2018 that implied that she'd been the victim of sexual and domestic violence at his hands. The essential question of the trial was not whether one of them had assaulted the other, but whether one of them deliberately ruined the other's reputation. Amber Heard seeks to justify her views in the opinion piece by asserting her right to free speech as an American. In this manner, she attempted to abuse the jury's loyalty towards their country's liberties. In the latter days of the trial, when she recognized that she was losing, she asserted, "I have the right to my voice and my name." She contended that Depp should not sue her for slander because she was simply using her First Amendment rights. This only demonstrates her duplicity, as she sued Johnny for twice the amount of the initial defamation claim. She asserted that he had hurt her reputation by testifying in court, which was precisely what she sought permission to do. It appears that the actress is unfamiliar with the concept of treating others as she would like to be treated. These claims did not sway the jury. Amber's third card in her hand is her body language. Similar to her fake tears, Amber Heard attempted to convey the body language of a depressed victim in court by exaggerating her emotions. Her constant look was one of her most effective attempts to sway the jury. Each time she took the stand, she looked at the attorneys when they offered a question, but turned to her right to face the jury when it was her chance to speak. The actress probably believed that if she looked at and spoke to the jurors, she could develop a greater rapport with them. Indeed, eye contact is a highly efficient method for developing connections with others. However, the actor was unaware that she was entirely alienating the remainder of the court. People would have found her more likable if she had looked around the court while speaking rather than focusing entirely on the jurors, who had the power to decide. And Heard may have frightened the jury by staring at them while she talked. Imagine someone staring at you continuously while saying angry or sorrowful words, well aware that you cannot answer. Amber is attempting on her own to convince the jury in her favor. In addition, as she sat in the gallery and looked at the jury, she wore a really sad face. Nonetheless, she was noticed smirking throughout the trial's closing days. In addition, during the second week of the trial, the actress pretended to be afraid and surprised when Depp approached her, further proving that she was a victim. The jury, however, appeared unmoved by such actions. Amber's final attempt to deceive the jury included both herself and many expert witnesses who stated that Johnny had issues. Everyone remembers the disaster involving Dr. David Spiegel. Team Heard attempted to argue that Johnny was a narcissist since he was doodling and eating candy. They were evidently grabbing at straws in their effort to persuade the jury. Numerous times, both in and out of court, the analysis of experts has been discredited. Team Depp re-examined the witnesses if they considered the opposing side's expert witness was making mistakes. For example, social media expert Ron Schnell testified that Depp's former attorney, Adam Wallman, coordinated a malicious defamation campaign against her group. Depp then reintroduced social media expert Douglas Bonilla, who indicated that the damage was less than 2% of what Ron had said. Similarly, a number of her attempts to convince the jury weren't successful due to her own overreaction of Johnny Depp's superb legal team. And that's all for today's video. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section down below. I hope that you found this video interesting, and if you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing to my channel. See you in the following video with some more of the latest updates, and until then, stay tuned!